Doom. Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Fun Fans Podcast. I'm your host, James Dillard. With me, as always, Bailey Jackson. How you doing, Bailey?
I'm doing great, but I'm not the only Bailey here tonight, so
Not the only.
I have to share the Bailey.
Sharing the Baileys, multiple Baileys. It's Bailey night tonight on the Fun Fans Podcast. We have a great show. We do have a Bailey to introduce to you in just a second. Clemson has twice as many wins as losses. We'll get to that in a second. The ACC title hunt just got very interesting. And we have, well, like I said, we got another Bailey to interview, and it could be the coolest, most interesting interview that you will have ever have heard or seen, and plenty of other Fun Fan talk to share. But first, the Fun Fans are a proud part of the Fanboys Fangirls Sports Podcasting Network. If you're a true sports fan, the Fanboys Fangirls is perfect for you. Find various nationwide podcasts and other sports media at thefanboys.com and on all forms of social media. The Fun Fans Podcast is the official podcast for Clemson fans.
And don't forget about Ruben's Food, Sports, Spirits, and Catering, the best wings around with 2 locations in the upstate. 1083 Batesville Road in Greer, 11028 Anderson Road in Piedmont. You can find them at rubensc.com. And Rubens is just a great place to eat, but especially for Tiger fans.
Especially for Tiger fans. You know, that might be the one place, Bailey, we didn't take Bailey. All right, we're going to say Bailey. All right, we got to introduce Bailey. First of all, who is this person on the podcast? She is Clemson's newest fan. That's the way we're going to put it. She is one of my daughters. If you've listened to the show, I have a daughter that goes to George Washington University in the D.C. area, and she has made really, really good friends. This is the person that takes care of my daughter for me while she's in D.C., so they're in the same graduate program at George Washington. She is originally from the Chicago area and a graduate of Wisconsin University undergrad. And we'd like to welcome to the show Bailey Carruthers. How are you doing, Bailey Carruthers?
Thank you. I am great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited. And yeah, I would count myself as the newest Clemson fan for sure.
Newest Clemson fan. So she was at the game yesterday, and we're going to talk about her experience she did homecoming weekend like an alum, okay? Because She was with my daughters who graduated in 22. And they were with another friend of theirs that graduated the same time. And I mean, they did the whole weekend, the hotel room in Clemson and the downtown and the floats and everything. So she was looped right in. But this was Bailey's very first football game ever. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But that's the thing. She's on the show, and that's what's making this so interesting is we're going to get her experience. But we're going to go in chronological order, Bailey. So I got this picture sent to me. I think this was the Friday night before. A little tomfoolery or whatever. Was that Friday night?
Yeah. No, some shenanigans were had for sure. They wanted to give me the full Clemson experience. So we went downtown. We started at Teas, which was a great introduction, and kind of made our way down. And that was when we were walking to Esso for dinner. It was probably a little comical seeing me trying to get up there, but a great picture came out of it. So I'm glad that I did.
Very good. But that's what I was thinking, we're on our way back from Charlotte today thinking, where have we not taken her to eat? And we just did the Reuben spot. You got to come back. They're flying out in the morning, but now, Bailey, you're going to have to come back for Reuben's wings. They're worth the trip. We'll make sure we make that happen. So you also saw the floats.
Yes.
If you
from the inside.
Yeah.
And that was actually the one that won first place for the non-moving category. The theme was space this year or something like that. And I had never seen, I'd heard Jillian talk about it, and you've all talked about it, but the sheer magnitude of them was something that I could have never imagined. And it was, a perfect day on Friday. We walked and saw the floats. We actually saw the judges when they were kind of doing their final scores. So yeah, I really did feel like an alumni this weekend. You guys made me feel right at home, which was fun.
That's awesome. And so everyone's asking you stuff like, well, how have you never been to a football game? You went to Wisconsin. So, and you described that what did they do for homecoming, or at least when you were there, which was just a handful of years ago?
Yeah, so I graduated in 22, and the Wisconsin and all of their branch campuses, there are about 12 across the state. Homecoming is more for alumni. You know, there are events that go on, there are, you know, like there is a game, but it just was never something that was really geared, I thought, to current students. It was more like for people to come back into town, and to have an excuse to partake in some shenanigans,
Right.
and alcohol in the case of Wisconsin. But it just never was really as big of a thing here as it is on a school. You know, I went to not as big as a school as Clemson, so it felt like a true like movie moment of like tailgating and doing the floats and everything. So I'm just very happy to experience this. We've had this plan for like a year
All right. So we've made
Yeah.
it to the tailgate then. And this is
now.
where you
Yeah,
met Bailey Jackson.
Hmm.
Well, what do you think? Was the tailgate fun enough for you?
I loved it. I had like never experienced anything like it. And I think something that I wasn't prepared for was just how nice and personable everyone was. Like, even if you didn't know the people around you, they were bringing food or would get to know you. And it was just, it was such a welcoming environment. I felt right at home right away.
All
Well,
right.
it's because you were actually in the greatest place on earth, and you figured that out. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't call it God's country for nothing. All right. So then
yeah.
we go to the game. Tell us what are you were there for pregame. There was a flyover, the running down the hill, and tell us if you had a favorite part or what you liked or tell us what you didn't like.
I really enjoyed the Tiger Walk. We were able to get right up on the rope right before they walked into the stadium, which was great. And it was super cool. I'd never, again, experienced anything like this, but I think one of my favorite things was the camaraderie of the fans. You know, everyone was kind of on the same page for the good calls, the bad calls, just about everything else. But everyone was just so invested. You know, nobody was really kind of distracted or doing things like didn't have a relation game. And seeing the drum line and the rally cats and the band was really special. It was really cool. Everyone just seemed to like have like genuinely want to be there and have a good time. So the energy was perfect.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
always a lot of people that want to. Hey, and show us your shirt, by the way. I made sure
Oh
she
yeah.
wore the sweatshirt.
In
Oh,
preparation for this, I made a shirt to commemorate this game. It just said first football game, but I had to get the Clemson font, everything. And I think it was a big hit. I was getting compliments the entire morning from
of
passers.
course, of course. And then, and I don't know where I think she got this from my daughters, of course. But we're not the only folks that I remember doing this when I was younger, and really not much younger than I am now. But you really haven't tailgated at Clemson unless you've ridden in the back of a pickup truck, either on the way in or on the way out. So this is Bailey and my daughter Grace, and we went back around to the other side of the campus after the game was over. Aren't they so cute, just sitting there with like they're
That's
posing?
that's right.
Did it get a little chilly on the back of the truck?
It was cold. It like especially the fourth quarter too. I think we're kind of shivering in the stands. But I feel like this was it was. I'm so honored to be here again. I feel like I've caught the bug, and I'm gonna be a football fan more than I am, especially college wise. But now you're never gonna be able to get rid of me. I'm just whenever
That's
Jillian
fine.
comes back, I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna want to do everything that we did this weekend.
Perfect. We do it
Yep.
regular, right, Bailey?
That's right.
All right. Anything else to add? Either Bailey?
Now I'm curious. You had never. Now you have a relative that works for the Los Angeles Rams, right? For Sean McVay.
Yeah, we have a really good family friend of ours
Okay.
that
But you'd
that
never
works
been.
alongside.
You'd never actually been to a football game.
No, not really. So in high school, I was in the marching band. So the only time I was ever like on the field was when we were performing. We like took a lot of pride, and we had a very large marching band for my high school. So we would spend like the first and second quarters after we would do our fight song for the game, ready and like preparing the freshmen. We would go do halftime, and then third quarter we would change out of our uniform. So I'd never like witnessed an actual football game or any plays really besides on the TV. So
Gotcha.
like I said, I was telling people this weekend this has been no better introduction to football, especially college wise. I couldn't imagine a better place to do this at.
I can't either.
Amen. Preach. Yeah, and you're welcome back anytime for sure. So she's definitely become part of the family this weekend. Well, Bailey, we appreciate having you on, and look forward to seeing you, and hopefully, spread the word about Fun Fans, and maybe we get. I'd like to go see the Rams play. I wouldn't mind maybe get hook up
Yeah.
on some tickets. That'd be
Making a
great.
trip, yeah. We'll
Yeah,
figure it
sure.
out. But I had the best people to be surrounded by for this. I couldn't imagine anybody else showing me around like this. So I really thank everyone who was involved.
You're gonna make me cry.
Yeah. Well, James is going to cry, and I'm just going to say, well, have a safe trip and come back anytime.
Anytime. Thanks,
Of
Bailey.
course. Well, thank you so much.
She's a hoot too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she fit right in.
Yeah,
She was all of it. She wanted some barbecue and some slaw.
that's right.
Yeah.
He had to bring the
What is
slaw.
this stuff? What is this slaw stuff?
It was awesome. And she's super nice, and I really do appreciate her. I definitely feel better with Jillian being 7 hours away with having somebody like her to hang out with all the time, for real.
Yep.
All right. Well, speaking of the game, on to the thoughts. You go first. We won.
I thought we won. I thought our defense continues to play really well. And look, let's just be honest. We had a turnover down deep in our territory. Or they probably, and then we were playing a little bit of prevent kind of last quarter type stuff. Or they run a very difficult offense to defend.
Very weird.
I think our offense has some kinks to iron out. I don't remember us going downfield much. So it may be something they were doing or some kind of look they were giving us. But a win's a win. And,
Win's a win.
You just keep winning. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, we were struggling a little bit to move the ball in the first half. The fumble gave them 3 points. There was a bad call. Holy goodness, probably the worst call I've ever seen in football, period, on roughing the passer that led to another 3 points for them. And, you take that away, the game's really not even close. But what I liked in the second half, we were struggling to run the ball. And the passing game, I think we were there just, a little bit of, wasn't perfect clicking or whatever, and that ended up getting better, and it wasn't bad. But the second half, remember me and you noticed we went to we made an adjustment.
Yeah.
There's 2 people in the backfield, but it was a completely different look. It wasn't 2 running backs. It was like a tight end, and they ended up running like some ISO.
Right.
Like led the fullback up in there. So, and really started getting a lot more success with the running game. So I thought that was really good. We were that close from putting away. You kept saying if we get a touchdown on this drive, it would pretty much put it away, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how the game went. But that didn't necessarily happen, but definitely enough to get the win. And if it wouldn't have been for, one flop for us with the fumble and one goof on the referees for them, really the game wouldn't have been as close as it was, in my opinion, in the first place. But do you know, and maybe you've seen this, maybe you haven't, but that victory gave Dabo 165 wins as the head coach of Clemson University, which ties him with legendary football coach Frank Howard. That is historic.
Yeah, and I want to know how long it took Frank Howard to get to 165.
Probably
a lot longer.
They didn't play. I don't know if they played 11 games back then, but they definitely didn't play 12 and 13 and 14 as you go into the playoffs and whatnot. But yeah, those numbers and that type of comparison, that's unbelievably huge. I mean, Frank Howard obviously is the field's named after him. He's the one that brought the rock, and I mean, he's the godfather of Clemson athletics, not just football. From a lot of things we've heard, from some baseball folks and other folks too. So that's a big deal with Dabo tying Coach Frank Howard, which means unless, as long as the good Lord don't call us all home, Dabo's going to end up breaking that, before it's all said and done. So,
well, here's the thing. I've heard a lot of stories from my late uncle, and then from guys and people that I worked with in Fike that knew Coach Howard. And back in the day, it was kind of like a high school athletic department.
Yeah.
Before big time television contracts, and I mean, there was the group of coaches were pretty tight.
Yeah, and he was in charge.
Yeah, and he was the boss. So I've heard a lot of good stories.
All right, very good. So moving on to some other games, the ACC hunt just got very, very interesting. Now I know that Louisville's win over Notre Dame doesn't count in the ACC. However, Louisville was sneaking around undefeated. They already have 3 wins in the ACC, but they were flying under everybody's radar. But suddenly, with the win over Notre Dame, they look like contenders and not pretenders.
Well, I mean, and if you look at Louisville, they Brom is their coach. He grew up in Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
He played at Louisville, and then he was the head coach at Purdue. And he came back when Satterfield left to go to Cincinnati. But it was just like a big time. I mean, the place was packed, and that's good for a couple scores a lot of times.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with Louisville. Their toughest remaining game is Duke and at Miami.
Yeah.
They don't play Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina.
Nope.
So I don't know if it got any more interesting. I think it just got like Louisville and Florida State are definitely in the driver's seat because Florida State's, I would say the Duke game would be tougher than some, but it's in Tallahassee and then they play Miami, but that's also in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Florida State's in the driver's seat. Louisville's right behind them. And North Carolina still has, they're Miami. They go to Georgia Tech. They play Duke. They play at Clemson. They play at NC State. So North Carolina has a little bit tougher road.
Yep.
And Clemson can just keep winning, just win, see what happens.
Yep. You never know what can happen there. And speaking of Georgia Tech and sticking with the ACC, now let's back up 1 second and just talk about the ACC as a whole. Even the ESPN talking heads, even the SEC paycheck people, are giving big time props to the ACC football this year because there's some high quality football going on and there's some really, really good teams in the conference. Oh, and one more thing about Louisville. Brom, it's his first year, right?
Yeah.
He brought in a lot of transfers, right?
I'm
similar to what I've heard is he's compared to Colorado, except nobody knew.
Except he's quiet about it.
He's quiet about it. Nobody knew. So there are a lot of folks out there doing that type thing, and more power to them. So, but the conference is doing well. I think the conference is looking good. I think Florida State should be getting even more props in the voting and the ranking. I mean, I think if they're not the top 3, they're at least 4 or 5. Anybody's got them deeper than 5 in their polls. Crazy in my opinion. But speaking of crazy,
well, they're ranked 4th in an AP poll.
Yeah, they're right in there. I've seen some of them that have them a little bit lower, but
here's the thing. The Pac-12 has more teams ranked than any other conference.
All right. Too.
Now, if you go and you look at last night, Southern Cal should not have won. They were getting hammered early, and I went to sleep because I was like, okay, well, this is one that's going to fall from the undefeated. But the new polls came out today, and I don't understand. Clemson has 2 losses. All right. Number 4, Florida State. Number 17, Duke. Duke was on the road. Notre Dame has 2 losses.
Yeah.
Number 3, Ohio State, and number 25, Louisville. Yet they're ranked 21st.
Yeah.
And Clemson is like not even right on the edge.
Yeah.
Like 5 or 6 teams back from getting into top 25. So I think there's a little bit of bias about Clemson with some of those voters. But anyway, it doesn't matter what you're ranked to the end of the season.
Nope.
I just wanted to throw that out there because it bothers me a little bit.
Just a little bit. And it happens all the time. And I'm sure a lot of fans feel the same way about their team when it comes to that kind of stuff. But speaking of, one more thing about ACC, did you see the end of the Georgia Tech Miami game?
Oh, yeah. How about just take a knee, Miami? What are you doing?
That is, we hadn't
What are
got to
you
the
doing?
fun, not fun parts of the weekend, but that is a not fun fan experience. That's, and I know we don't question coaching decisions, but come on now. That's a bad,
Well, I
bad
mean,
one.
you can question that one.
That one has to be questioned. So you know what they needed? They needed more energy.
Yeah, he needed some focus.
Yeah. You need to scan this QR code, go to w.gg, enter promo code FUNFANS for 10% off. I've been taking I've been drinking this very refreshing drink instead of a cup of coffee.
Not a drug.
For my 2:30 feeling. So, but you know, who else had a lot of energy?
Georgia.
Those Oklahoma Sooners.
And Oklahoma.
Georgia did. Georgia. Okay, so we can just go through real quick. Oklahoma's legit. We talked about how
they're not going to lose.
No.
Unless they may lose in the Big 12 championship, but you know what? Their schedule's like ridiculously easy.
Yes. They've won the one game they need to win.
Right.
And from here on out, it's just taking care of business. Georgia, same way. Are they same way?
I didn't look at Georgia because I figured they was going to win anyway.
They're going to win. I mean, everybody's wondering, and they start slow. You know, we've talked about this with Clemson and the fans and Georgia fans, and, you know, it's tied up or only up by 3 or whatever, you know, early in games. And then when it comes time,
win,
bark, you know, and they just whoop Kentucky. And that is a good Kentucky team now,
right?
That they very much hammered. So, any other games? I think that might be about it that were fun to watch, at least that we know of. We're in that part of the season where there are a lot of opens going on, so which is where Clemson will be next week, enjoying a little bit of a break. And I said last week, this month of October is going to be interesting. So that first week was very good, very fun for a fan to keep up with all the college football. And we'll see where it's all going to fall. Speaking of fun, not fun fan experiences of the weekend. Number one, the fun thing is having someone who had never been to a football game with us. That was very cool to have Bailey with us at the tailgate and at the game and all, to, you know, chat with her and see her enjoying things for the first time and all that. That was really, really cool.
Yeah, she just soaked it all in. I mean, she was perfect personality for that.
Yeah. Not fun fan experience. Getting through the gate at Death Valley.
No comment.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that one. Fun. The homecoming. I said it last week, fans. If whatever your college does, participate in it. You need to go, you know, see the floats, support the stuff, you know, et cetera, et cetera. It's a really, really good time. It's a true tradition for all family members involved. So that's good stuff. Not fun. Empty seats at homecoming. I'm not going to fuss, but come on, man. There were, from my just experience and looking around in traffic, there were just as many, if not more, people at Clemson tailgating, which is great. But there were definitely lots of empty seats in the stadium. Come on, folks.
Yeah, a lot of them up top.
Yeah. Come on in the game. The upper deck tickets were selling for not too crazy. Get on in there and support the Tigers. Very fun fan experience. Dancing at the tailgate. If you go to the Fun Fans Podcast TikTok account, you can see something that we reposted that may or may not be considered a dance, but there was some other stuff going on. Not fun, though, is maybe seeing our tailgate dancing on TikTok the next day.
I don't know that I understand what that TikTok is all about.
That's some trend.
I don't know if I understand all of that. But anyway, it's okay. Yeah. I took part. We did our part.
Yeah. You show your kids at Clover and they'll probably pick right up on, oh, Coach Jackson did whatever that TikTok thing. Yeah. All right. So that was fun. It was a great weekend. We look forward to next weekend, even though it's an open, because this is all about college football, just mostly Clemson. But we're also on to some Orioles. Give us an O's update.
It's not good.
They're just one game in, though, right?
Down two games to Texas.
Oh, 2 games.
Look, I'm gonna just vent for a second, and people that watch Major League Baseball will know what I'm talking about. So if you win your division, you basically get a week off, and you play the winner of a wild card series, 3-game series, which Texas had been in first place all year in the American League Central, and then they stumbled a little bit down the stretch and lost a very close race. So they go play Tampa Bay and sweep Tampa Bay. So then they have like 3 days rest, which the wild card team should have a disadvantage. But because they won in 2 games, they were able to set their pitching up for this, and they're a very good team. I don't want to take anything away from them,
Right.
But you're supposed to have an advantage if you're the division winner, and really having a week off after you've played 162 games in 4 months that's not normal.
Depends, yeah.
So the Braves got beat yesterday, the Orioles got beat yesterday, and the Dodgers got beat yesterday. All division winners. So anyway, they're down 2-0, but they haven't been swept in 91 series dating back to last year. So they're not going to get swept this time. Tuesday night, they're going to beat Texas, and then they're going to beat them Wednesday. Then they're going to play again in Baltimore and win.
Very good.
That's the end of my other sports news.
There you go. Well, speaking of Wednesday, with Clemson having an open, maybe we can get that story that you've been talking about, how it's the best story in Major League Baseball, because it shouldn't take but a minute to get through any other midweek news with college football. We can maybe get that story on Wednesday night. So we will be back Wednesday at 8:30 with our midweek college football previewing what Clemson's not doing over the weekend and maybe any other important games relative to Clemson, and possibly Coach Jackson's Baltimore Orioles story that he's been teasing us with all season. But until next week, what about them Diamond Edge products?
Yeah, don't forget they have mastered a diamond laser engraving process, and they can put almost any design on items such as license plates, yard signs, tumblers, water bottles, and much more. And of course, Clover High School has an order I need to pick up.
That's
for
right.
a high quality, forever lasting, custom engraved product, check out Diamond Edge Products at diamondedgeproducts.com or email Jalen, that's Jaylin, at diamondedgeproducts.com. And Diamond Edge Products is now an officially licensed partner with Clemson University. So get all your official Clemson swag from Diamond Edge Products. It is high quality and it lasts forever and it looks really good.
Yeah, your order's in the back of her car over there in Indian Land right now. So it's practically in Clover. It's pretty close.
Oh, I might have to get it tomorrow.
There you go. Well, just you can read Jaylin, right?
Yeah, I know her email address.
All right. Well, once again, we appreciate everybody being with us. We want to thank Bailey Carruthers one more time for being with us. They fly back to DC, so we hope all that goes. Oh, I got to say this. It was homecoming, and I did. That's what it's all about. So there's the twins, Jalen, Jillian. There's Bailey, and then my youngest, Grayson. My nephew Cole, all the way to the left, and then their other friend Gracie Henderson in there with us. So all smiles, good time was had, lots of love being with them at the homecoming event. Can't wait till next year. So thanks again for joining us each and every week. Don't forget to click subscribe on the Fun Fans Podcast YouTube channel, as well as your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all social media, and please share. All archive shows can be found on the Fanboys website. On behalf of the Fun Fans Podcast, Jay Thriller Entertainment, the Fanboys Fangirls Podcast Network, and Bailey Jackson.
Hey, Tigers going to win next weekend. They play Open U. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.